Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. Today's guest is my friend, Mr. Casey Nakamura, who works at Johnson & Johnson Vision as a senior package engineer. How are you, Casey?
I'm doing well, Cory. How are you?
Good, man. You're live from an event. Let's talk about that. Where are you at?
I am in Austin, Texas at the Packout.
That's excellent. I've heard really good things about that show. We'll mention that a little bit later, but first let's go back to your background. What got you into sustainable packaging?
Well, really, it was packaging. I'm a Cal Poly Mustang packaging grad, and I've got to represent.
Yeah.
And I've been in the packaging industry straight out of school, so over 10 years now.
Wow.
And I've been in CPG goods. I was in corrugate and folding carton for a number of years on the supplier side, and then I kind of moved into. I made the jump over to manufacturing, and now in the last 5+ years, been in the medical device industry, doing packaging and labeling.
And that's a very difficult area of the world of packaging to be sustainable in. To be very honest, I've had struggles with that because the requirements are for oftentimes virgin material, oftentimes very thick plastics, very heavyweight plastics. Can you speak to that a little bit with the challenges related to that?
Yeah, we work with a lot of sterile barrier systems and talk about traceability of where all our components come from. Those are requirements stemming from ISO 11607 and other ones as well. So there's a lot of challenges in being sustainable and trying to source sustainable resources to use in your packaging. Then there's a lot of work in trying to open up those avenues. And we focus on where can we get FSC board? Where can we control that within our supply chain and document it and show traceability? So I think from a medical device industry perspective, there are other ways that we can focus on our sustainability, not necessarily just from the materials of construction standpoint where we can leverage. But of course, that's a big part of it. And really, once we can incorporate that, then it's going to allow for the industry to accept more recycled content. But there's a lot of discussion here at this event right now that is about advanced recycling and breaking down plastics to their base level, and then being able to rebuild them and incorporate that with your virgin to, in a mass balance, your product and your packaging. So there's a lot of innovation happening that's gonna come to the medical device industry.
That's fascinating. I've heard a lot of mixed feelings about advanced recycling, or some people call it chemical recycling.
Yeah.
I'd love to know your thoughts, if you're comfortable sharing what you think of it as a sustainable option.
Well, I think it's one thing, it has the potential to really divert, waste stream, as well as, prevent, we don't have to go get it. We don't have to pull more fossil fuels. So it is, I think the industry itself needs to scale up to accommodate that, as well as the ability to capture the waste that's being out there to repurpose accordingly. Or I think it's still just so new. A lot of the technologies are newer and trying to complement existing like mechanical recycling efforts. So there needs to be more development, and it's been a process, but I think it definitely has its place, and it's building out its niche where it will allow us to utilize more of what's already been used in the industry. So it's a step in the right direction, but it's not the end all. I don't know if there is anything that's truly going to be the main sustainability. Like, this is it. This is the end goal. It's going to be a combination. The unicorn doesn't exist, especially not with medical device packaging. I wish it does, but I got faith. Maybe one day technology can advance to that point. So.
I hope so too. And I'm amazed what's happened just in the last 3 years and the last 2 years, even doing this show. I've learned so much about the efforts being made in the world of sustainable packaging. But when I think of vision packaging, I think of contacts. My wife wears contacts, and she gets these individually packaged sets of contacts that she has to replace. And is that the main focus of your division, contacts?
Contacts. So J Vision is a variety of different brands and products. Contact lenses is the largest part of that, and we have engineers that focus specifically on those products. The other half of the business in J Vision is for cataract surgery,
Oh, wow.
and that involves implantable devices called intraocular lenses. There are a few other product lines within that umbrella that include refractive laser surgery, so like a LASIK type procedures for vision correction, as well as treatments for glaucoma and dry eye as well.
Fascinating. So your company would provide the packaged materials for the doctors and nurses that would perform the surgical procedures.
Yes. Yeah.
Incredible. I didn't even thought of that as something that needs to be done. That's amazing. Now you work for a big company, right? So
I do.
You have the opportunity to work with some of the cutting edge technologies in the world of packaging. Do you feel like those resources have allowed you and your team to make some innovations in the sustainability?
Yes, I'd say mostly J&J is such a large organization, and we're one operating company amongst plethora, all in different segments of
Right.
medical device and even pharmaceutical. Right? J&J has their consumer business, and that's becoming Kenvue. And so being such a large organization does enable communication and knowledge sharing. There's been more efforts. I think a lot of the challenges during COVID and things like that impacted the ability to connect. I think impacted everybody. But now what we've done, and a little bit taking one step back, is my organization was acquired in 2018. So it took a couple years in order to really be brought into the larger J&J medical device family. And so we had to bridge the gaps and make the connections, but really, and then right, so a couple years, and then COVID kind of unfortunately hampered those opportunities. But now, so I'm working more cross-functionally with other engineers and other operating companies within J&J, where we're able to share methods, look at innovations. Working on, from a larger perspective, we've developed a sustainability team, where we can kind of harmonize about what we're doing in our specific companies.
Great.
So we can at least get more aligned and understand, what are you doing in this organization? And then, how can I apply that to mine? And where can we find value and promote sustainability within our projects?
And I'm sure, like most companies, and I apologize for not looking it up specifically, but most companies have sustainability goals that they're trying to attain. And has your corporate team reached out to you to kind of see what you're doing to help that goal?
Yeah, there are a number of different goals that have been established, but what we're working right now is generating what are the realistic expectations of those, and how do you quantify that? How can you really quantify and then ultimately communicate? What are the goals? How can we hit them? What's the plan for doing that? And ultimately, like, the overall benefits. One example is I'm on the team that's trying to leverage EIFU. So one of my responsibilities is running our EIFU program. And with that, we're going through product by product line and identifying where we can remove the paper instructions to use and provide it electronically. So we've identified we have product specific for a certain country where it's eligible, and we can go through, as long as we have our testing or validation in place and justify that the package would be fine without a paper, then we can justify to our health authority that we don't need it, and we now have a digital option to present that to the customer. So
that's amazing. What does EIFU stand for, just for our knowledge here?
Yeah, EIFU, by definition, is electronic instructions for use, and you can provide the instructions for use electronically, and for the most part, that's done via a website. And so within J&J, we have a specific platform that is open to our customers so they can go online and access the instructions for their device.
So maybe a QR code or a UPC, or like you said, just a printed website for people to research.
Yeah, the use of QR codes in med device is still, it's not been popularized or used as much. I think there's more opportunity to use it. Right now, the guidance on the symbol and the usability is just indicates you need to have your consult instructions for your symbol with a URL, and that indicates to your customers. In this case, majority of our customers from the surgical side are healthcare professionals. They'll understand that symbol and the URLs where I can access and find my instructions.
It's exciting. I spent a lot of time at Waste Expo with a friend of mine, Mikey Prosciutto, that founded a company called Scrap.
Okay.
And what they do is they work with hospitals and with regular people to help sort packaging so that it actually gets recycled in the right way with the right material. So I'm wondering if that can help J&J maybe at the hospital level. So
yeah,
things to consider there.
Definitely. I know, and there's some other, I think there's I know it's HPRC, Healthcare Packaging, I think Recycling Council, or there's that organization, as well as and others, and other, whether they're MDMs or they're more suppliers for that, are really looking at how to set up, how hospitals can set up recycling for all this packaging that they end up going through. So there's a definite opportunity there, and that's going to lead into, diverting it to the appropriate recycling stream. So,
like you said, huge potential there. And it's been a real challenge for many years because it's essentially been treated as toxic waste and hazardous materials, and
right.
which makes sense because we're dealing with blood and different medical materials that are not safe for everyone to be touching. But I'd love to know some of your thoughts on maybe some current trends in packaging that you think are, in particular, sustainable packaging, of course, that are exciting to you.
Well, I think I already mentioned, right? Being able to anytime you can remove paper and simplify your product configuration, that's just been the really enabling factor of, like, I have the ability, and we have the system in place to enable that. So lightweighting, I've worked on a project where actually consolidated. We have a labeling project where we had 6 different labels able to go down. I was able to go down to one label for all these products. So really trying to, any project that simplifies the supply chain, and we know how challenging things can be given the last couple of years. And being able to build in resiliency are all these trends that we need to constantly be aware of, and really looking for those opportunities. And you have to find them. It's not always it's not going to present itself.
Very true.
So you definitely need to constantly be looking at, and reevaluating where your supply chain or your value, you can add value.
Right. I'd love to know your thoughts on reusable packaging. Do you see a future there for sustainability?
I do see a future there. Unfortunately, it's in the sterile packaging world. It's not that much of a future. Now, we do have some closed loop systems that we use that, well, for example, here, the one that we use is we have product that gets fully packaged and then put into reusable totes, in essence, or they're all really stainless steel baskets. And then that product is sent for sterilization.
Right.
And then it gets sent back, and then it gets packed, put in a carton and packed out for the unit load. So, in a closed loop, and there are certain closed loop systems where reusable packaging definitely has its place and value. Unfortunately, when you're getting into that more, full distribution model, and you got product shipping out the door, sending everything back is not really set up yet, or right. And there are a lot of our products, so they will get palletized and then shipped to a distribution center, right? I don't see the DC sending back corrugate to be used, unfortunately, especially when it's been shipped across the world. Or even our capital equipment. I don't think I've ever heard of a customer shipping back a crate that we can reuse.
Yeah. It has to make sense, right? It has to be appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, for the people watching on YouTube, they've been probably totally confused by your background. And for those listening, Casey's background is a swimming pool. And it's a really cool underwater picture. But you've got to explain to us why you chose that background and tell us what is underwater hockey.
What is underwater hockey? All right. Well, underwater hockey is a sport played on the bottom of a swimming pool. So I have spent a lot of my life being underwater. So definitely felt this picture was appropriate to showcase. And more specifically, been underwater a lot as I have been training to play this sport at the highest level. I am competing for Team USA in the World
Congratulations.
Championships this summer.
Amazing.
So, yeah. But underwater hockey, it's played at the bottom of the pool. You have a lead-weighted puck that's coated in plastic, and it weighs about 3 pounds. And the players, they wear a dive mask, they have a snorkel so they could breathe and watch the play, and they have flippers on and use a short stick, and they hold their breath and they dive down to the bottom of the pool and then push the puck along the pool bottom, trying to put the puck in the goal. So you're defending yours on your side of the pool, and then on the other side is the one you're trying to score in. So
It's amazing.
yeah, there's nothing, no other sport like it, no other sport where you actively are holding your breath while playing,
Yeah.
let alone fully submerged underwater. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. Even with water polo, you're above the water at least. And yes, you have to swim, which is incredibly challenging, but to do it fully underwater is amazing. And congratulations for being chosen to the USA, Team USA, and for representing us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, that's
Exciting.
what keeps me in shape. It helps keep me focused. I dive under the water. I'm not thinking about packaging, right? I can get a little escape and I can focus on playing with my teammates and of course scoring goals.
Yeah. What's your position? Are you a forward or a mid, or is that, how do they do it?
I am a forward. So at the high elite level, I am a forward attacker. Where we have kind of a tier, we have a formation, and it's 6-on-6 in the water.
Okay.
But then you also have 4 subs, so it's ultimately teams are 10-on-10. But we have a forwards, we have a midline, and then typically what we call stopper. In essence, a goalie, but they don't need to stay in the goal. No one, the puck, it moves fast because someone's swimming and pushing it real fast.
Right.
But then you have, a cycle of players coming up and down to get, they're getting air, they're coming back down, being positioned to steal the puck or receive the pass so you can keep swimming with it and then pass it off to a teammate.
Incredible.
So it's encourage someone to go on YouTube and check it out.
I was just going to ask, what's the best way for people to watch and to see you do this?
Yeah, so there's a number of YouTube channels. Specifically, there's one called Atlanta Sports, and you can, if you search underwater hockey on YouTube, you're going to find all sorts of videos from all over the world. It is a full international sport, and started in the UK in the 1950s, and then spread all over the world.
But, really amazing.
Yeah, YouTube is your best spot, specifically in a month from now. And so the June 9-10 weekend is the US Nationals Championship, and that will be fully streamed to YouTube, as well as ultimately in July when the World Championships will be happening. It'll be streamed to YouTube.
What part of the world will that be competed in?
It's in Gold Coast, Australia.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
For the US one.
Oh, the US tournament is actually happening in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. St. Paul, or I guess it's University of Minnesota is the hosting, as the club that plays there. They play at that college pool. So that's where they're hosting the tournament.
Well, at least it's not the winner. That's good.
Yeah, wintertime, I try and invite those players to come to Southern California and play in my outdoor pool. So
I bet that's an enticing idea for them for sure.
Yeah, definitely. They get some SoCal sunshine.
Yeah.
A number of them take advantage every year. So
right. Well, this has been awesome, Casey. Thank you for your wisdom. Enjoy the rest of your time at the Pack Out event there in Austin, Texas. And any last things you wanted to mention before we close out?
No, I definitely Cory, thank you for having me on the show. And
Yeah.
I think it's just, we always need to continue to keep thinking, how can we continue to be sustainable, and reevaluating that perspective and refreshing it. And when you get new information, new ideas, reapplying. It's really, I think it's developing a way of being able to think about it in consistently, and to constantly being able to reapply. We got to be
Yeah.
circular in that in order to continue moving forward. So
Very true. Very well said. Things are changing constantly, and we need to be able to adapt. Well said. Well, thanks, Casey. And I'd like to thank Aurora North America Packaging for sponsoring this show. Really appreciate that. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and stay tuned for more.